What is up, y'all? The Philly Fly Show's checking in. We're kicking it at Right Way Production Studios like we always do, and we back for another banger week of fights. This one is exciting. If you have not seen the UFC press conference, yo, Chimaev, you're a bitch. I'm just gonna go out and say that you do not kick somebody like that at the press conference. You want to throw a T-kick style thing right to his stomach? Go for it. I ain't gonna dog you for that, but you're gonna try to take out his knee. You're a bitch for that one. Straight up, Sean is in your head, and we can fucking see it, buddy. So let's get this show started. Look, man, I'm excited for this pay-per-view, but we're gonna have to do a quick little review of last week, and just I have to have a talking point that I'm just upset about. Tai Tuivasa, I do not understand how you lost that fight. Do you not work on wrestling? Do you not work on your game? You worked on your health and got in good physical shape. I can see that, and I can see that you are trying, but how do you lose to a guy like Louis Sutherland? Louis Sutherland doesn't even deserve to be in the UFC, in my humble opinion. But that's not the only thing we got a dog here. Jack Della Maddalena, dog. Like, I did not pick you to win. I didn't think you were even going to win, and that Carlos Parate's odds were just sweet and cash that to the bank. But why did you look so bad in that fight? Like, I know you're a better fighter than that. I think that Islam fight, it got to him. And Carlos Parates is an animal, but Jack might have to get on that bandwagon and get better. His striking is crisp. He did land on Carlos a couple times. Here's Carlos's downfall. And the only downfall in his whole well-rounded MMA statistics, dude. He just doesn't respect fighters. Like, Jack landed on him once, and it hurt him. It wasn't like where he was like a very scary moment in the fight where he was going to lose, but Jack hurt him, and that is Carlos needs to learn a little bit of better defensive head movement, because when you're going to stand and fight with somebody that can hit you hard too and knock you out, you got to respect their power to a point. He does not. He just walks you down. Now, that is part of his game plan. I understand that, but, man, that's not always going to work for you. So, a lot of good fights last week. We're going to shout out to the Philly Fly Show again, because we went 9 for 13 on the beginning prelims. I thought I was toast, and then I just hit it all in the end. So, that's good. We're going to put that, file that away, and we're going to start with UFC pay-per-view 328. Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland is the championship fight. And not only do we get one championship fight, we get two championship fights. The flyweight title is on the line too. That fight I'm excited for, but it ain't the same. It ain't the same. I want to see what's going to play out in that fight and see who the real champ's going to be. All right, it's a 13-leg matchup. We're going to just jump right into it here in the flyweight division. Running through this really quickly, no female fights on this one. Makes no sense. Again, I don't like when the UFC does this. We need at least 1 to 2 female fights on every card. It doesn't matter. You can line them up and you can make them fight. Next time, let's do it. So, match like number 13 here, flyweight bout. Clayton Carpenter versus Jose Oka. Jose is a negative 188 favorite, whereas Clayton is a plus 152 underdog. Now, Clayton, get my sheet out here in the proper form, not for the Joe Money Show. Clayton is a 3-2 in his last 5, 2-2 in the UFC, and on a 2-fight lose streak. His counterpart in Jose is 3-2 in his last 5, 1-2 in the UFC, and coming off a decision loss to Alimbayev. Now, Alimbayev is a beast. He's a top-ranked fighter. He's no slouch to lose to. You need to learn some things sometimes, and I think Jose got a lot of teaching there and a lot of learning. So, I like Jose's game way better than Clayton Carpenter. Clayton is on that 2-fight lose streak. The 2 guys he did lose to are good competitors, but Jose is a top competitor too, and I'm just going to roll with the tide there. I'm going to roll with Jose on that negative 188. I'm not super confident, though. Only 1 out of 5 on the confidence level, so I wouldn't put it on a parlay, or if you are, it's a pure risk there. Match like number 12 is a middleweight bout. We get Baysanger Serkakaev versus Jordan Santos. Santos is a plus 470 underdog. Serkakaev is a negative 700 favorite. If you don't know who Serkakaev is, he is Chimaev's training partner. who fought on the Dana White Contender Series and 4 days later got another win against Eric Nolan. And then in his last fight, showed that he, with a camp behind him, he's even better looking. So it's going to be a good test for him. And Santos, he's a good prospect. It ain't a slouch fight. Chimaev is 5-0 in his last 5, 2-0 in the UFC, and an 11-0 fighter, has not lost. So a loss, I think, in the end here is going to help him, but as of right now, he's just rolling forward with the tide. And then Santos, he is 4-1 in his last 5. He's 1-1 in the UFC and coming off a decision win against a prospect who just I didn't know too much about, so I didn't really put his name down. I think it's a little bit tougher fight than the odds makers make it, but Chimaev's going to get the win 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. He can get his hand raised after the fight. Match like number 11 here is a featherweight bout between Pat Sabatini and William Gomez. Pat Sabatini is a negative 215 favorite. William plus 172 underdog. Looking around here, boys and girls, I failed. I need water already, and I failed. So my water's halfway across the room, so we're going to finish this. I'm going to jump over my bed here and get my water that's sitting over there. So Pat Sabatini is 4-1 in his last 5. He's 8-2 in the UFC and on a 3-fight win streak against just absolute killers. So that Pat Sabatini, go look at his last 3 wins. Those are all good guys in the featherweight division. William is 4-1 in his last 5, 5-1 in the UFC, and coming off a decision win there. So he ended up taking a loss on his quick run. It's a good learning experience. I really like William Gomez too, but Pat Sabatini's wrestling is just going to be way too much for William. Even when they stand and bang, Pat might not be the crispest striker, but he's got power in those hands, and he's always looking for a takedown. So William's going to be looking for that, and I don't think it's going to be a good fight for William. I think it's a bad matchup. Pat Sabatini gets a big win, 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. He can get his hand raised. Now we got match like number 10 here. It's a middleweight bout. Tonight's fights have a lot of middleweight bouts, so the middleweight division is moving forward. Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio. Tulio's a negative 205 favorite. Roman Kopylov plus 164. Man, when I looked up Roman's record, I was really surprised because I thought this guy was one of those elite prospects that has maybe like 1 or 2 losses in the UFC. That is not the case here. Listen to this record for Roman Kopylov because I would not have guessed this whatsoever. Dude is 2-3 in his last 5, 6-5 in the UFC, and on a 2-fight lose streak. And he came into the UFC with a losing streak. Well, not came in. When he came into the UFC, he had a winning streak, but his first 2 fights in the UFC were losses. Once I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of forgot about the beginning of his career. He's had to learn and grow, actually. So his counterpart, Marco, is 4-1 in his last 5, 2-1 in the UFC. He is coming off a KO loss against Chris Duncan, but Chris Duncan's got some hands, and he fools a lot of people. So Marco might have got just a little bit too in his game. Marco's really well-rounded, great striking, great grappling. Roman Kopylov is just a very good striker and can put up fights with the best. So it's not going to be an easy win for Marco Tulio, but I think his power and his striking is going to be what puts Kopylov down and not going to be able to get a finish there. Tulio can get a finish there. If you want to sweeten the odds, pick Tulio to get the finish, but I'm not going to roll with that one. I don't like that one, but to get better odds on a single pick, that's what I would do. I got 1 out of 5 only on the confidence level that Marco gets his hand raised because this is a banger fight. Don't miss it. Good middleweight bout. All right. I have to pay attention here because on my sheet of paper here, I'm going to say this before I screw it up, so hopefully I don't screw it up. I got the ordering wrong somehow. I skipped a fight on there, and so my order, my whole thing is a little screwed up. But we're going to start here. Match like number 9, lightweight bout. Jim fucking Miller versus Jared Gordon. I had to say that because this could be Jim's last fight. We never know when Jim's going to leave. Jim is one of these crazy UFC vets that I had to read. Usually I count up just their wins and losses on my quick review on my little ESPN app and just go, they're 6-4 in the UFC. His is so long that I had to just use AI and Google how many UFC fights he's had and what his record was. And in fact, I found a really reputable site that literally doesn't make me, all I gotta do is type in the name. So now I got a cool site that I'm using for that. Jim fucking Miller is a plus 245 underdog. Jared Gordon, negative 320 favorite. Don't like those odds because I think Jim can submit Jared and knock him out. The problem is Jim's age and the way Jared's been rolling. Jared's on a tear. Jared looks like he can actually fight in this lightweight division. And he's looking to get that Paddy the Baddy fight back. So, match like number 9 here. Like I said, Jim fucking Miller is a 3-2 in his last 5. 27, 18-1 in the UFC. God damn, that's a lot of fights. And he's coming off a loss against Chase Hooper, who Chase Hooper now just he's not on a good run either. So that loss is not looking good for Jim Miller. But hey, like I said, dude's got power and dude can submit people. We're always going to be there for Jim, but it might be the end of the career. His counterpart in Jared Gordon is 2-1 in his last 5. 9-7-1 in the UFC. He's coming off a KO loss against Rafa Garcia, but that is not a slouch guy to lose to. Rafa Garcia just fought in a main event, so not a bad loss there. Jared, I think, gets the win. I just think Jim's just at the end of the career, and it's just going to be over. When old dudes stay too long, that's what happens, unfortunately. Jared gets his hand raised, 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. He gets the hand raised. Now, we're going to move from match like 9 to match like 8, which is at the bottom of my sheet because I decided to skip it here, and I got to make sure. On this sheet, I got it right, but on here, I'm looking right now. So it's a lightweight bout between Grant Dawson and Matus Rebeshi. Rebeshi is a plus 180 underdog, whereas Grant is a negative 180 favorite. Wow, negative 180 favorite, plus 180 underdog. You don't usually see it that way. It usually skews a little bit because of the money coming in. But, Grant Dawson, 3-2 in his last 5, 11-2-1 in the UFC. He's got a good record for the UFC. I did not realize he's been in there that long. That was a cool thing to look over. He is coming off a KO loss to Manuel Torres, but Manuel is just, his hands are nasty. So I am not going to put that loss against Grant. Again, when you're fighting MMA, losses do not hurt you. Even in boxing, losses do not hurt you. But the way the boxing is these days, boxing's trash because of the whole not actually fighting competitors. Again, Grant Dawson's got a great record. His counterpart, Matus Rebeshi's 2-3 in his last 5, 4-3 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight lose streak. This dude can fight though. This is no slouch guy. He will stand in there. He'll take 3 shots to land 1 good one on you. That is his only downfall in his MMA game. I think Grant Dawson wins because of wrestling. Wrestling is a big part of Grant's game, and his gas tank is always there, whereas Rebeshi, gas tank is a little down. So it's going to be a good fight. If Grant loses, it's because Rebeshi just landed a banger strike on him. So I think Grant wins, though, 1 out of 5, though, on the confidence level. He can get his hand raised. We'll jump to match like number 7 here, which is up on my sheet. Glad I didn't screw this up. We got Joel Alvarez in a welterweight division fight between Yaroslav Amasev. Now, Amasev is coming from PFL and Bellator. He's one of the Bellator PFL guys that I actually think can compete in the UFC. Kind of like Aaron Pico a bit. But I think this guy's better than all of them. Welterweight bout. He's already ranked the 14th welterweight. So he got a big win against Neil Magny and got a ranking because of it. Because at the time, Neil Magny, I'm pretty sure, was ranked. I don't know if I agree with that ranking, but he's putting it on the line against a guy like Joel Alvarez. Yaroslav is a negative 188 favorite. Joel Alvarez plus 146 underdog. Look, man, Joel, he is 4-1 in his last 5, 8-2 in the UFC, and on a 4-fight win streak. And had to make the move to welterweight because the lightweight cut is just killing that guy. He is 6'3" and pure muscle, great striker, great grappler. He's got it all, man. And to move to welterweight to get a real division, like at lightweight, he was killing himself to get there. And he was still putting dudes out and putting on good performances. So for him to go move to welterweight, put on that great performance against Vicente Luque, he's got it, man. He's got it all behind him. He just needs to put it together. Now, the guy he's fighting, like I said, Arslov, he is 4-1 in his last 5, just like that, 1-0 in the UFC, and on a 2-fight win streak. I like the guy's game, but I'm thinking Joel Alvarez is going to be too much for him. He's longer, lankier, better striker, I think, than him. Grappling, they might be the same. If not, Yaroslav might be a better grappler. Picking Joel Alvarez, 1 out of 5 on the confidence level. He gets his hand raised. Now we're at the feature prelim bout of the night. It is a middleweight bout. Atiba Gutierrez versus Ozzy Diaz. Ozzy is a plus 700 underdog. Atiba is a negative 1450 favorite. Atiba had his first adversity in the UFC. Didn't lose the fight, but finally went to a decision after just putting on tears of knockouts, man. When you see this guy's physique and you find out that he's never worked out a day in his life, you're like, I'm a slouch, dude. Like, literally, I feel like the biggest slouch. But when you come from these places in Africa, sometimes you put on muscle doing just daily work. So that's how that dude put on that muscle. That negative 1450 is correct. It could be even higher. Ozzy's a good fighter. Ozzy's a good prospect. They matched this guy up to see if they're just testing Ozzy. Again, Atiba is just getting a little bit downward in the rankings of fighters, but you gotta build them up when they're young prospects like this. Now, get to Atiba's fighting record. He's 5-0 in his last 5, 4-0 in the UFC, coming off a 4-fight win streak, especially in the UFC. That is a good win. His counterpart, 3-2 in his last 5, 1-1 in the UFC, and coming off a decision win. I think Ozzy's got the game to be a fighter in the UFC, but being matched up against Gutierrez is just not fair. Atiba gets a big win on Saturday. If you want to sweeten those odds, pick a KO, but it is a little weary because of his last outing. So do what you will with that for the feature prelim bout, but 3 out of 5 on the confidence level, Atiba can get his win there. Still didn't get my water, but I'm trying to run through this because I got great energy right now, and I just want to keep going, baby. All right, match like number 5. We'll jump to the main card here. It's getting a little hot in this room. Lightweight bout between Bobby King Green, or King Green is what he named his name now, but he's still Bobby King Green to me, versus Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens. I was happy to see Heathen Stevens get back in the UFC, but he just doesn't look like he's got it, man. He's too many fights in the UFC, too much wars, just doesn't look good. He's a plus 255 underdog, whereas King Green's a negative 350 favorite. King Green is still tearing people up. Dude's got hands. You gotta respect his hands, even when they're low. He is a good striker. He also has very good grappling defense. That is very, very underrated. Very underrated. So Jeremy's not going to be able to just go in and take him down. Jeremy's going to have to stand and bang with him, and that's where Jeremy ends up losing. Bobby King Green gets a big win there. Bobby's 3-2 in his last 5, 15-12-1 in the UFC, and on a 2-fight win streak. His counterpart in his last 5 is 1-4 and a 15-19 UFC record, and on a 2-fight lose streak. He lost to Mason Jones in that Iowa fight like a year ago. It's just, I don't know, man. He looks like he can still fight people, but can he get wins and stack up wins in the UFC? I don't see that happening. Bobby King Green lays him out. 3 out of 5 on the confidence level of that. That happens. Match leg number 4. This is for me, take away the 2 title fights because those are exciting in themselves, and obviously Chimaev and Strickland, the way they've been talking to each other and dogging each other and being how physical this fight's going to be, hopefully. You just got to take away those 2. The heavyweight bout, I take away 2 because, heavyweights stand and bang, and the 2 heavyweights I got in there, they're strikers. Wow, my dog's actually getting up and moving here. Old senior dog. I don't know if he'll get in the picture, but he's flipping around here. It hurts to see him get up, but it's a welterweight bout. This is the most anticipated fight of the night that's not a title fight or a heavyweight fight. Sean Brady, 6th ranked welterweight versus the 9th ranked welterweight, and Joaquin Buckley. Now, Buckley's a plus 144 underdog, whereas Sean is a negative 186 favorite. Sean is so well-rounded. I never thought his striking was elite until he knocked out it's escaping me. I'm not going to say the name, but he knocked out somebody I just didn't think he could knock out. And then Joaquin Buckley, he was on a tear too. Ended up taking a loss against Usman in his last fight, but he still got it, I think. He just faced a dog, man, in that welterweight division. He's a dog. All right, Sean Brady is 4-1 or 3-2 in his last 5, 8-2 UFC record. He is coming off a KO loss to Michael Morales. That is not a bad loss, dude. That dude's got crazy power. You might have wanted to work in your wrestling a little more in that last fight, Sean, but just it's how the game works sometimes. And then Joaquin, he is 4-1 in his last 5, which is crazy. 11-5 in the UFC, and he's coming off a decision loss against Usman, like I said. You could go either way on this bout. What my inkling was that if it goes to the ground and there's grappling, Sean Brady's got the edge there. So I had to take Sean Brady. You can bet whatever way you want on there. I'm not going to tell you which way besides what I felt because of the grappling. Sean Brady gets a win, but I'm only 1 out of 5 on that confidence level. I wouldn't bet this fight unless you're purely risking it. Do not put it on a parlay. All right, main event. Match like number 3, right before co-main event of the evening, is a heavyweight bout between the number 2 ranked Alexander Volkov and Waldo Cortez Acosta, a.k.a. Salsa Boy for the rest of this thing, is the number 4 ranked heavyweight in the world. Salsa Boy is a plus 136 underdog. His counterpart in Volkov is a negative 174 favorite. Volkov's great striking. Volkov's got crazy power because of his size. And his grappling is elite. I'm gonna label it elite. Yes, once in a while he fights a guy that's better than him, but it's just not how it is. And Volkov has been in the UFC for a very, very long time. But when I looked at his UFC record, I was astounded that it's so low. I thought he had like 30 fights in the UFC almost. At least almost 30 fights. Because I remember him being... It was Stefan Struve and Volkov on, I swear it was UFC Undisputed 3. And that was a long, long time ago. So... I might be mistaken it, but just in my head, I'm going off pure memory. I'm going to look that up and put this on the show next week for you guys because I feel like he's been in the UFC for a very long time. But his record in Alexander Volkov, he's 4-1 in his last 5, 13-5 in the UFC. Only 18 UFC fights, which, like I said, swear it's like 30, but it's not. And then you got his coming off a decision win against Almeida. Again, Almeida kind of sat on him a lot of that fight, and I feel like the judges got it wrong, even though I was rooting for Volkov and I thought he got more damage off, but with that grappling in that fight, he just didn't look that good. But they gave him a win after he got robbed in his last fight, so I feel like the judges gave him back one. And then his counterpart in Salsa Boy, he is 4-1 in his last 5, 10-2 in the UFC, which is nuts. He's got a lot of fights compared to Volkov, and he's on a 3-fight KO streak, and one of his KOs was a nasty one on that Derek Lewis fight. So good to see Salsa Boy just keep on rolling and keep on getting fights under his belt. And I think Salsa Boy is going to get it done here on Saturday. The reasoning being his counter striking is so far above most of these heavyweights that I've seen. His power's there. Volkov and him get standing and banging, and it's going to be a nasty night for Volkov because if Salsa Boy lands, nighty-night. All right, co-main event of the evening, boys and girls, title weight fight. Time to see if Joshua Van is an actual champion or not. He is labeled as the champion, obviously, from beating Pantoja in the way that it happened, and Pantoja breaking his... He says it's not his elbow, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's still his elbow. Joshua Van, plus 140 underdog. Tatsuro Taira, negative 180 favorite, and the number 3 ranked flyweight in the world. It's kind of cool to see Taira do get a title shot, but Taira's game plan is jiu-jitsu, take you down, beat you senseless, and look for a submission. Joshua Van is what? Pure striker, so when Joshua's supposed to fight Pantoja, I thought Pantoja was just going to eliminate him with ease because of Pantoja's grappling. I honestly feel that same way with this fight, but the difference here is I think Tatsuro might get in his own game planning head and try to stand and fight with Josh. And that's where that's going to be a bad night for him. Josh will put your lights out. His hands are fast. He's crazy. He's got good grappling defense, but I won't say elite. So if he can hold down Taira and not get taken down a bunch of times and be sat on and destroyed, I'm going to put him in the elite status after that. He will get his black belt from me. But if Tatsuro just manhandles him the whole 5 rounds or 3 rounds, don't say I didn't told you so, but we'll go here. Josh is 5-0 in his last 5, 9-1 in the UFC, and on a 6-fight win streak. That's pretty good. He fights a lot, so that's pretty good. His counterpart's 4-1 in his last 5, 8-1 in the UFC, on a 2-fight win streak. Man, I like Tyra, but like I said, I'm going Joshua, man. I'm going to join the bandwagon even though I don't fully believe. I just think his hands are nasty. I think his hands are fast, and I think Tsuro will be in his own head if he stands and bangs with him. So we'll see how that plays out. Now we're going to get to the main event of the evening, boys and girls, cats and dogs. What is going to happen in this fight? Tell me in the comments what you think is going to happen in this fight. I'm going to tell you right now because it's my show and that's what I do here. We got Khamzat Chimaev, champion, negative 560 favorite, versus Sean flippin' Strickland, plus 370 underdog. And I didn't even get his ranking. Skip Sean's ranking. Don't give a damn about that right now. This fight is going to be a banger. Sean is in Chimaev's head. Does that bring out a better Chimaev? Do they stand and bang? I don't think they stand and bang. I think Chimaev shoots for a takedown within the first 5 seconds. Sean has very good grappling defense. Sean just striking to me is he's good. He does that weird thing where he blocks your strikes with his arm and stuff. And I love all that. But the power. His last fight he showed power. The Israel Asanya fight he showed power. But most of his fights is just he puts it on you too much and that's how he gets you. You know, it's just hard. Sean with the plus 370, negative 560 on Chimaev. I thought it would be a little closer. It's a little closer in the odds. But, you know, Chimaev 5-0 in his last 5. He's a 9-0 UFC fighter and 15-0 in his MMA career. As champ, he's 15-0. That's a good champion right there. His counterpart, Sean, he is 3-2 in his last 5. 17-7 in the UFC. Would have never guessed that. He's coming off a big KO win over Fluffy Hernandez. Man. I'm rooting for Sean. You'll see me screaming, tweeting, doing all that stuff. It'll be all for Sean. But Sean doesn't win this fight. Chimaev's going to sit on him 5 rounds. If not submit Sean. I mean, this will be a good test. If Sean wins, he will go down as one of the best of all time. You won't be able to argue. I won't be able to argue it. And I'm not a big Sean Strickland guy. So yeah, that's how I feel like this plays out. We're at the 28-minute mark here right now. And y'all, shout out to the Right Way Production Studios for always making this happen. We're going to see y'all next week. I don't have much more to say because I'm ready for this fight tomorrow. Sorry for the show getting out so late this week. I had some family business I had to get done on Wednesday, which made me emotional. And Thursday, yesterday, I didn't have it, man. And sometimes when you don't have it, you can't put on your show. So I didn't have the energy today. I have the energy. I felt a little better. Sinuses are my biggest issue right now with this whole change in weather. So we'll see y'all next week for another good show on the Philly Fly Show. Let's get some money. Shout out to Right Way Production Studios again for always making this happen. And we will see y'all next week.